Good evening and welcome to you. I'd like to invite you to our upcoming retreat in a couple weeks here, August 22nd through the 24th online, 2025, of course. In addition to this, we have our weekly groups, the Sunday night Satsang, which we're here for, the Kundalini group on Wednesday morning, and the Wednesday evening meditation. And for anyone excited about this coming March, we will be in the Bahamas at the Shivananda Ashram, March 29th. Okay, those are the big announcements. If anyone needs a scholarship for the upcoming retreat, you're always welcome to reach out and ask for one of those. I know that different times in life we struggle financially, and I'd love it if you could join, and I don't want money to get in the way. Okay, those are the announcements. Well, I want us to start tonight just right away with a prayer-like attitude. And so let's shut down our eyes and let's call upon the grace of God to come here now, to come here now, to come more fully into your life. And I invite you just to take a moment and to notice, one, if you're receptive to this grace. And so in order to be receptive, we have to let go of all the things that fill our consciousness and allow ourselves to be humble and open and to see our place here in the universe. And by that, I mean that God is the creator. And of course, we are God's children. And so I hope you can open to the love of God and expect to receive it. You know, just like a child might sit down at the dinner table and ask mom or dad, hey, can you get me a fork when you come back from the kitchen? It's to have the same sense with God. That God made us and God wants to serve us. And so just gently opening and noticing right away how the atmosphere of your room changes, the inner realms begin to open up. And we're connecting in an intimate way with God. We might just start by saying, hello, here I am. Here I am, Lord. It is I, Lord. And I'm calling out to you. I'm inviting you to come into this body temple to help awaken me, to help me to surrender that which is no good for me, no good for this world. Help me to open fully and completely and to simply receive your sweet love and grace. And so right away, I hope you're joining me in this depth of connection with grace, this depth of openness. And you might feel almost as if light is pouring down from heaven. You might feel almost as if this is happening because it is, because it is. And so sometimes I'll speak in a way that's just gently inviting. And it can be helpful, if you soften your jaw, the muscles of the face. It's also helpful if you're a real mentally centered person, to take a big backward step. It's hard to pray and to be open and receptive if we're fully identified with our thinking mind. And so let's take a big backward step. So it's almost like our consciousness is opening up through the back of the skull, feeling the back body, along the spine. And that just helps us to be more humble. When we're in our surface level consciousness, well, the nervous system has a heightened sense of vigilance. You're scanning the environment for danger or for something wrong. And I'm going to invite us to just take a big backward step. And again, just to say, here I am, Lord. It is I, Lord, your child. Will you come into me more fully? Will you show me a greater light and a greater love, greater truth? And so we're breathing, we're feeling, we're softening, opening the heart more fully in the chest. And again, opening up that backside of the heart and relaxing down throughout the ribs, relaxing in the belly and the pelvis, and inviting this grace again to pour down through the subtle energetic body. And from a humble place, let us ask God to leave no stone unturned within our consciousness, within our body. And so again, we're breathing, we're feeling, we're softening. We can smile and even have a little bit of gratitude, maybe a lot of gratitude. Oh, looky here, just a little prayer, and God comes. How fortunate am I? And for those of you with a little bit more of a stubborn consciousness, I'm going to invite you to breathe a little more deeply and fully, unhooking from the mind, unhooking from any realms of doubt or mentality. Sometimes it's not even that we doubt, it's just that we have a strong mind. And so I invite you to feel into your heart, feeling the tenderness of your heart, the goodness of your heart, and then noticing this sweet grace just washing over you, washing over all of us. And you might even notice if there's any little bits of tension, any little bits of holding, any places where you habitually hold or resist or grip. Again, softening here, softening here. And welcoming this grace, pouring down, washing over the space of the mind, pouring down the throat, the neck, the shoulders, flooding the chest, flooding the heart, awakening the heart. washing over, clearing out any fear in the belly, in the abdomen. Inviting God to restore a gentle sense of order, gentle sense of order throughout your system. It's in this crazy, chaotic world. It's easy for us to get out of alignment with the truth, out of alignment with love, out of alignment with peace. So again, let's call upon the grace of God. Oh God, will you flood my mind, my heart, my body with peace? Yes, and so let's take 3 deep, full breaths, breathing deeply and fully, welcoming this great transmission of peace, clearing out any density in the mind. Bring forth harmony and balance to the heart and the body. And next, let us call upon the Divine Mother to shower us with great love, great love, a sweet, healing, and compassionate love, a love that opens our heart, that melts any grief, any sadness, that softens and calms any angst. And again, smiling, this wondrous peace, this radiant love. And lastly, let us call upon the power of truth. Oh, Divine Mother, oh, great Creator, realign us with the truth. Help us to open more fully to this peace, this love, this immense strength and nobility that we are, and that is your nature. And so finally, I would invite you just to take a moment, and if you have a prayer request, there's something you've been struggling with, or a loved one, or your dog, or your pet, or a good friend, let's call upon the grace of God to bless us, to bless our friends, our family, those who are deeply suffering. I'm going to invite a prayer for rain in the Southwest, for the ending of these great fires that we have, the end of drought. We'll call upon blessing for world peace and unity. A great blessing for all beings suffering, especially those children suffering in realms of slavery and being trafficked. May they be held, may they be loved, may they be protected, may they be freed from harm. And so, let us gently open our eyes and welcome you to Satsang. And Don, he emailed a question, and it's a beautiful question. I thought maybe I'll just start with this. And Don asks, Craig, what is the best way to connect to the heart? Is it to try to bring in emotion? Just keep looking inward. All I feel are some sensations, but not something I feel like, doesn't feel like I'm online with the spiritual heart. Yeah. And so, in a sense, the prayer that I started with today, this evening, was modeling this. When I look at connecting to our heart and connecting to God, as one teaching. If we're good Buddhists, we don't really talk about God, but we talk about prajna, this energy that comes alive when we drop out of our thinking mind and come down into the heart. And when we do this, we start to experience a heart wisdom, a wisdom of great truth mixed with great compassion. And, it's important for us to really recognize what the heart is. I mean, fundamentally, the heart is the seat of the soul. It's the seat of who and what we are. It's our essence. And our essence is made in the image and the likeness of God. It's this fundamental sense of aliveness. And, some of us, if we don't have much of a connection to God, or if we feel more like a Buddhist, we might just feel this fundamental sense of aliveness. Now, this should not be a mystery to anyone. It shouldn't be. But in our modern age, most of us are so intellectually wired, we're so mentally wired, and it's going to be very hard to connect to the heart if you're in your head. And so we have to literally physically bring awareness into our heart. And again, if we have if we have a brain that's like an accountant, or an engineer, sometimes we need to just touch our heart. And, if it's summertime, if it's warm, we might even do skin on skin, just feeling the palm of your hand touching, your heart chakra. And just feeling the warmth, the aliveness. You'll feel it right in the palm of your hand. You feel it in your fingertips as well, but right in the palm of your hand, you feel a sense of aliveness. And if you feel right into the center of your chest, you'll feel this aliveness. Now, again, if you're really, I'm going to use this word, don't take it as an insult. But if we're really dense, and by that I just mean, like we're really connected to our physical mind and our mental mind, you will at least feel the beating of your heart, and you will at least feel warmth. This warmth is your presence. It is your fundamental aliveness. If you touched your body and it was cold without any presence, well, you'd be dead. You'd be dead. And if you've ever, um, touched a body, that the soul had left, you'll see, it feels kind of like just like rubbery. It doesn't feel right. If you ever, I used to do this all the time. Like the inner vegan in me would always stop whenever I saw an animal that got hit on the road, and kind of pull its body off the road. And but when rigor mortis, if I can say that word, sets in, the body gets stiff. But so if we just feel this fundamental sense of aliveness, so this is one way of getting in touch with the heart. But what's required is that we really bring our consciousness down into the chest. And if you feel right on the surface of your chest, you will probably feel more of a sense of emotionality. And you might notice some hurt there, some heartache, or some desiring, or, these types of things. But if we journey inward toward the spine, you might begin to notice this quiet depth. And so the way we come into contact with the heart is through feeling, not through thinking, but through feeling. One of my teachers, he often refers to this as sensing. We're sensing into the direct feeling, the direct experience of the heart. And as I'm sensing into the direct experience of my heart, there's this inner chamber of divinity that's waking up and coming online. And so I'm going to invite you just to see if you can notice this, that on the surface there might be emotion or tension, or sometimes anxiety. If we take some deep breaths and we kind of journey, just imagine journeying in like 2 inches below the surface. And I start to feel some real light, some radiance. I see some of you in this room have some Kundalini Shakti as you go in a little deeper. You can give yourself a little dose of Shakti pot. But if you're not a Kundalini person, I'm sure if you journey in, you might experience this realm of exuberant light. And of course, none of this, what I'm speaking about, is a thought. If we're thinking, that means we're in our head, we're in our mentality. But I invite you to feel just this innate goodness, this radiance. And so, Don, we're just playing around here with feeling and sensing. Now, sometimes, again, if we have a really dense or heavy mind, real practical mind, we're going to have to surrender this mind. We're going to have to be willing to look in a different way. And some of us are really accustomed just to looking through the lens of mentality. And so again, I'm going to give you another thing to play with. If you can come down into the heart, and if you have that dense mind, or thick mind, or persistent mind, and I invite you just to imagine that your heart has eyes. That you're seeing from your heart. And before you look out at the world, I invite you to use your vision to see yourself. And as you do this, you might really light up inside. You might see this beauty, this sweetness, this innocence. And how beautiful is this? Now others, again, this would just be another way to connect to the heart. As you're feeling into the heart, you might notice emotion on the surface, but you might feel like there's almost like a tender spot. Like right on the surface of your heart, but it even becomes more tender as you journey inward. And sometimes through this avenue, this is like a tantric avenue, where you notice, oh my gosh, I've been so guarded, so defended. You might see you've been wearing a coat of armor. If you just look right under that coat of armor is this tenderness, almost like a a sore spot, a point of vulnerability. And again, we're just playing here. We're just playing with connecting to the heart and just seeing what works for you. And now some of you, because you've opened so much to the heart, there's so much love and so much radiance that you might just be smiling. And for those of you not smiling, I invite you to look at that. Just to notice, oh, is there a wall here? Is there a guarding here? And can I soften the the guarding? Can I soften the armor? Can I look what's under the armor? And again, you might find this tender innocence that might feel a little like naked and vulnerable, but we're breathing, we're feeling, and we're together getting to know the sweet radiance of the heart, the sweet radiance of your essence. And so as we see the heart, it requires a great deal of humility, a willingness to not think and to simply feel, to perceive and experience. Requires a softening, connecting intimately. For some of us, it will require a certain level of forgiveness or letting go. And Don, I'm going to challenge you to work with this again and again and again throughout the day. I'm going to challenge all of us as a Sangha. I want this fully human, fully divine Sangha to be proficient at not only connecting to the heart, but to simply live from the heart. To live from the heart. And you'll see it's a different type of life. When we're in the heart, there's no judgment. There's no comparing. There's no fighting against or making somebody or something wrong. If we're doing that, we're on the outside of the heart. We're on the outside. And so we want to be right in the center of the heart, connecting to this gentle sense of love, this luminosity, this radiance. And I'm going to invite each of you just to ask your heart right now, is there something your heart wants to tell you? So as we join together in satsang, satsang is a space of truth. And so instead of listening to me, I want to listen to you. I want to hear. What is your heart telling you? What is your heart telling you? And I'm going to invite you to share that with me in the chat here. We can have a little sharing as a group. But together, as we play with this exercise, I hope that this exercise simply becomes a way of life, a way of being, where you are living from the goodness and the radiance of the heart. And I'm going to invite you just to look at this question. Is there ever a time when I should ignore my heart? Because the invitation here is to stay in the heart always. But for some reason in the modern age, we've left the heart. We hang out in our head all day. We wonder why we're chronically anxious, or why we feel disconnected, or why our world is so divided. And so is there ever a reason, a time to ignore your heart? Is there ever a time when you should not be connected to your heart? Because again, as a culture, we've made just the habit of ignoring the heart and living from the head. And that's created a crazy world. And if our world is going to rebalance, realign with the will of God, well, we have to come back to our hearts. We have to come back to our hearts. As we open into the hearts, if we're good Christians, we call this the Christ. The consciousness of the Christ, the consciousness that is unified, that is not divided, that is not fighting against. For a good Buddhist, we might call this prajna. I don't care what we call it, just as human beings, we could all benefit through opening more and more fully and living from our heart. Living from our heart. And so, let's see what you all have written, but I'm going to invite us just to play this game just throughout our day and just asking, like, am I in my heart? Oh, no, I'm not. Okay. But I bring consciousness down into the heart and include the heart. And just begin to notice how our experience begins to shift as we come into the heart. And we can also just notice the quality of experience if we're just in our head. You notice it'll probably feel pretty dry, pretty disconnected. Sometimes it'll feel like really, like I got a plan, I got an agenda. That's normally like the thinking mind mixed with the egoic will is what that is. You see that a lot in our culture. You see that Monday mornings, people get up and they're like, I'm getting after it. It's like they're getting after work, and of course, I work from home, but occasionally when I get out in traffic, I realize, oh my gosh, like look at all these people. And they're just in this consciousness where they're loaded up on coffee and they're racing to work and getting there to punch in the time clock and this and that. And of course, we call that the rat race, but so many of us, I mean, I've spent just years of my life living in the rat race. And for me, it was almost always just self-imposed. Like I just made up this thing of rushing, rushing, rushing. My teacher didn't like it when I was late for work, but still, he didn't need me to be stressed about getting there either. He would have been happy if, I was 5 minutes late. He 10 minutes late. He would have been fine. He would have been fine if I showed up with a big open heart instead of stressed out. And so I'm going to invite us to really look at this. Am I in my heart? What is it like when I'm in my heart? Can I be in my heart more fully? Is there ever a time when I should not be in my heart? It's the heart is good all the time, all the time. Even when we're in dangerous situations, like your heart, oftentimes your intuition will let you know even before the danger has arisen. So the heart, oftentimes we think, oh, I need to be in my survival mind because that keeps me safe. Well, your heart will keep you safe also. Will keep you safe also. Now, your emotional heart, that's something a little different. Your emotional heart. The emotional heart can get you in all kinds of trouble. Sometimes a little bit of good trouble. I have some neighbors right down the street. They're going to this festival. It's called Birmingham Festival. It's a big festival in the Nevada desert, for those of you who don't know. And they build the big pig out of wood and they light it on fire. It's called Birmingham. And anyways, Anne's shaking her head. She's saying that's not what it's called. But they're some neighbors down the street, and every night they've been out just racing their bicycles up and down the street. But they put lights all over their bike because if you're going to go to Birmingham, you have to have lights on your bike. You might put lights all over your body, lights all over your RV, whatever. And so they're getting all geared up to go do that thing. And sometimes our heart will say, I want to have this as an experience. I'm not sure what kind of experience that is. I've been to all kinds of experiences like that, and oftentimes there's a lot of lost souls just walking around, doing drugs and looking at the sky and walking around half naked and looking for a little bit of trouble. And that's kind of what's in the realm of the surface level heart. When you come into the true heart, you might be at that same festival, by the way, in your true heart. And in your true heart, you look around and you see the absolute beauty of the sky, of the vast desert, of all these wild, freaky people all around you. And you see with this unifying sense of love, but without any neediness, without any grasping energy. And that's the beauty when we're in the depth of our heart, is it feels whole and complete. When we're on the surface of the heart, often there's going to be a feeling of, I need to connect because I don't feel whole in the here and now. And the ego has always taught us to look outward for connection, whereas the spiritual path, of course, tells us to look inward, to look inward. Okay. Let's see what Lauren writes here. My heart wants to tell me, get crazy with it, space cowgirl. Okay, hold on a second. Let me make sure I'm reading this correct. Lauren says, my heart wants to tell me, get crazy with it, space cowgirl. More eloquently, embrace wild joy. Okay, good, good. Embrace some wild joy. And, some of us, like my friend down the street who's going to the Birmingham Festival, he's a doctor. And for some of us, like if we spent our 20s in medical school and we didn't get to explore being 20, maybe when we're 55 we might say, I got to go have this experience. I got to go be a space cowgirl. He'd be a space cowboy. And so some of us are like, okay, I need to, have some of this playful joy. I need to experience some of this. And sometimes your heart will tell you this. Sometimes they'll say, hey, you skipped the developmental step and you need to go play for a while. You need to go play. You need to go play. And so, yeah, we want to honor this. Yeah, Justina says, it doesn't seem to be saying anything. It just feels like blissful love. Yeah, Justina, it's saying you are blissful love. That's what it's saying. You are blissful love. So it's not always going to speak with words, of course. Okay, Don writes, it feels like a warm, still body of water. Yeah, so Don, I'm going to invite you just to keep your attention here in this still body of warm water and to really stay here. And you might notice at different times in the day, as you stay here, it deepens, it expands. Sometimes you might see that it has waves. It might have an intensity. It might draw you inward. It might feel like a deep cave. It might feel more warm and fluid. And so, Don, the big thing is I want you just to think about, not to think about, I want you to feel about, if you can say that, just to feel your heart, just to notice what that feels like. And it won't always feel good. Sometimes when we connect with the heart, we realize, oh my gosh, I'm so angry at what I heard on the news or whatever it is. I had that experience just a little bit ago. I heard about these children who were trafficked and, sold into slavery. And it was a horrific story. When you hear that, your heart is going to ache. It's going to ache. It's going to ache. Now, when you hear that with your mind, you might just get angry. And, if you get angry and then do something, okay, that's great. But oftentimes we just get angry and it leads to a sense of despair. And so with me, when I heard this story, at first I felt some anger and I even felt some disgust that human beings could do this to children. And then under it, I felt this great sadness. And then my heart started to open and sending great love to these children. Great, great love. And as we do that, you'll feel that even though there's great tragedy in this world, you'll begin to open to this experience where you know that love is everywhere. And even though these beings are suffering greatly, love is with them. They are made of love. And it helps our world to wake up. Wake up to this great sense of compassion, a compassion to acknowledge, yeah, there's terrible things here on planet Earth. But at the end of the day, love will triumph. Love will triumph. And more as we come into our heart and the heart expands, you see that love will triumph, that love is omnipresent. Whereas when you turn on the news, it feels like there is no love. It just feels like there's just pain and suffering in the world. So Don, I'm going to invite you just to pay attention to that all day long. Terry writes, my heart wants me to forgive myself for not being in control of my mother's health and her decline. Yeah, I'm laughing just because sometimes when we have someone in our life who's sick, we start to tense. Parents do this all the time for their children. Terry's doing it the opposite way. She's the child and she's taking care of her mom. And of course, we want to be able to control her health, but we can't. It's one of the great humbling things. To let go, to trust, and allow life to be the ultimate caregiver. And to love me as I am. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, Terry. Beautiful. Yeah, I have to acknowledge that for our heart to be open, it takes great courage, a willingness to feel. One of the reasons our heart will shut down is because a part of us like just does a little math in our head. It's like, no, that's too much to feel. So I'm going to shut down. I'm going to shut down. And, I've seen this. I was just talking about child trafficking a moment ago. And, there's a nonprofit I follow, the Tim Tebow Foundation. And I don't even know who he is. I think he might be some football player or something, some superstar. But he does this work with helping to rescue, children who've been enslaved and trafficked. And I got on his mailing list, and he's just sending these emails every day, and it's just like horror story after horror story. It's like, oh my God, like this is just so much pain. And I noticed that when just seeing the email in my inbox, I noticed just a little grip in my heart because I knew if I opened it, it was going to be some terrible story. And I'm not saying y'all have to pay attention to this thing because it's just a horror. But when we're willing to feel, this is what keeps our heart open. But you have to be courageous, and it makes you really strong to be able to look at great pain and not shut down. Now, nurses have a tremendous gift with this. I don't know how they do it, but some nurses just work in the ER all day, or just work with nursing homes, there's places with people really suffering. And, you'll see that so many nurses are angels. They have this quiet strength and this willingness to hold your hand, to be with you, to smile. Sometimes they'll just like rub your forehead, just because you're just like, I'm in so much pain about the doctor or whatever. I'm in the hospital. I broke this or that, or, they're taking out, my insides or whatever. And, this is where nurses have just been real angels, where you see most doctors are like up in their head, where nurses are just like this tremendous strength, in hospital settings. Okay. Um, Tyler writes, my heart says silence. Yeah, yeah. And of course, what I'm saying, like, well, what does your heart say? Like, might just be this silence, but a silence with a radiance. I find it hard to keep my heart open when I exert myself, like when lifting weights or doing something difficult. Yeah, yeah, this is a common thing. This is a common thing. Now, um, who is so good at keeping their heart open when exercising? And I think we just lost him this last year. I could be wrong about this, but Richard Simmons, like Richard Simmons, if anyone remembers him from the 80s and 90s, he was just like so happy and excited to work out. And Tyler, I'm going to challenge you. If Richard Simmons can do it, I'm going to invite you to do it. I'm going to invite you to do it. I'm going to invite you to see if you can, you know, add some exuberance or some joy when lifting weights. Now, if we're like maxing out and doing like a heavy bench press or something like that, you might just start with a smile and some big exhales. But let's just see, Tyler, if we can, play, with lifting weights and smiling and being, really happy. And again, this is something that, you know, if you're on a job site, oftentimes guys are real serious and they're grumpy and they're aggressive and they're throwing things around. And, sometimes we get into that kind of work mode where we just shut off our heart. And we're like, I'm being a caveman. I'm working hard, and it's a good question. Like, do I need to do that? Do I need to do that? I'm just going to channel because I just channeled Richard Simmons. I want to channel the Village People. I've seen them on some job sites before, and, they're dancing around and swinging and climbing up and down the ladder, having a good old time. But, if they can do it, we can do it. We can do it. And I've really worked with some really joyous people before. And I've worked with other people, on that same job site who, if I looked at them wrong, they look like, they were going to, throw me off the roof or whatever, and so it's not always the environment. but we use the environment as an excuse. When we're doing something difficult, again, this is where our central nervous system, it just tends to grip and it tends to be really focused in a laser-like way. And this is an inquiry for us, Tyler, to really look at. Can I do something difficult and be really open and relaxed and at ease? But just because we're doing something difficult doesn't mean we need to tense. One of my big journeys with jujitsu is, can I relax deeply and fully? Can I keep my heart open and connected to a quiet sense of strength? Like when I'm at jujitsu and a big fella is beating the hell out of me. And sometimes, I'll laugh when someone's strangling me or this, that. And they're like, what the hell are you laughing at, Craig? He's like, I'm trying to choke you. I'm like, well, I'm just laughing because this is a crazy world. It's a crazy world. You burn up a lot of energy when we're tight and we're tense. And so can we relax and be open? Okay. Um, Kyle writes, my spiritual heart often feels like a humble monk who knows that his life is about devotion to God's goodness. Yeah, that's really beautiful, Kyle. That's beautiful. Yeah, Justina writes, I can relate to this. I'll say I can relate to that. That's how I felt most of my life, is just like this monk. Okay, Chris writes, today today reassured me that what my heart tells me is true. I am truly learning to sit back, listen, and trust fully. Good, good. Yeah, and Chris, that's one of the greatest things, if we can really just listen to our heart. And I'll tell you, everyone here, if you give up listening to your mind and simply listen to your heart, your life will change in extraordinary ways, in huge ways, in massive ways. Sometimes my mind will come in and I'll ask my heart would just be like, nope, nope, that's not the way. That's not the way. And then I'll look back at my mind and see, oh, that's just a habit. That's a habit of, Mike Holliday, who was my father. Or that's a habit of, my cultural conditioning. That's a habit of this, that's a habit of that. Whereas the heart doesn't live from habit. Yeah. Yeah, beautiful, Chris. Okay, Jilly writes, my heart wants me to know that when I open to difficult situations and remain open, that I don't do it alone. You're never alone when you're open. You're never vulnerable, just unified. Yeah, Jilly, boy, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. We aren't alone. And that's one of the things I was trying to communicate earlier, is that when we open on our heart, we're really opening to God. We're opening to the hugeness of the universe. We're opening to the community of saints. We're opening to receiving love and connection to all beings, like the opposite of being alone. Now, for some people, it can feel so overwhelming, the depth of connection that comes online. We get a little freaked out and we close down. We're like, oh my God, I'm being overwhelmed. But we have to remember that when we open in the heart, often we're being overwhelmed by love, not by anything bad. You're being overwhelmed by God. Yeah. Taylor writes, opening the heart seems synonymous to opening the whole body being to God, life, beauty. I experience other centers in the whole body relaxing. Yeah. Yeah. Taylor. So true. So true. And the heart chakra is really the main chakra center. It's the seat of the soul. It's really the powerhouse. And when you get to know the depth of your heart, all the other chakra centers are going to come online. The whole body's going to come online. The spine's going to light up. Because the heart, it's just, at first when we're talking about it, we think of it as this center in the chest. But as you really open to it, you see, oh, this thing has no end. It has no edges. It has no walls. It includes everything. And it's a great way to wake up the whole body. Yes. Yeah, Terry writes, I used to do Aikido, and there was a woman whose loving energy made it feel like I was being taken down by a soft, gentle pillow of love. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Anne writes, my heart opened naturally when our dog was bitten by a rattlesnake, sitting quietly with him and listening to him breathe. Yeah, yeah. And what a blessing, Anne, it was, to have, for Huck to have you with him. Yeah, yeah. What a blessing. What a blessing. Of course, we're going to continue to pray for his healing and his upliftment, and may he be restored fully and completely, fully and completely. May he be blessed. May he be blessed. May he be blessed. Yes. Okay. Okay. Well, let's just do this. Yeah, Justina has a prayer request here for a mother bear in our neighborhood that a neighbor shot because it has been breaking into houses. Oh boy. The baby bears will be taken and released into nearby national forest, but apparently the mother is dying in the woods behind our house right now. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay. Well, let's all close down our eyes. Let's send great love and healing to this mama bear who's experiencing this great pain and this disconnection with her babies. And just sending lots and lots of love to the mama bear. May she be loved and nurtured and supported and swiftly received into heaven. And may the cubs grow up and be healthy, happy. May they stay in the national forest and out of people's homes. Okay. And so let us continue to feel into our heart, feeling the warmth, the goodness, the aliveness of the heart, feeling this sweet radiance and beauty. And let us make a commitment to get to know the depth of our heart more fully and completely. Let us call upon the radiant grace of the divine to flood our hearts, to uplift them, to overwhelm us with grace, with light, with love and compassion. Oh, Heavenly Mother, give us the strength to live with great openness and love. Give us the strength to rest quietly in this depth of being. Help us to root down into this depth, to anchor here. Never leave with sweet, radiant, courageous presence of love. That we are. That we are. That we are. And so, gently bringing the palms to the heart, may all beings know the sweet love, the resiliency, the strength, the power of their heart. May all beings manifest and embody the truth, the depth of their highest nature. May the human world, the animal world, the plant world, the earthly world live together in harmony. May rains be restored to the southwest. May the fires end. May the truth prevail. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om. And so much love and respect to each of you. Good night, everyone. So good to be with y'all. I really want you to spend your time in the heart. So let's play with this as homework all day long. Am I connected to the heart? This loving, radiant, strong, courageous presence that I am. Can I share this gift here all about planet Earth? And so, good night, everyone. See you soon.